Hello, everyone, and welcome back to A Theater Near You. My name is Chris Randazzo, and I'm joined this evening, as always, by Back Alley certified heart surgeon Paul Giroux.
If your chest is not on fire and you don't have a raging heart on, then I'm doing something wrong.
And fake video game designer Sean Doyle.
Wait. I'm the video game?
It was time to watch a movie that started with the letter C. And we landed on the apparently somewhat beloved action flick, Crank, starring Jason Statham. But did it warm our exploding hearts? Let's find out. But first, how are you, gentlemen?
Wait. Are you telling me that you guys watched Crank? Because I watched Crank Yankers.
The beloved TV prank calling show with starring puppets?
Yeah, it had something to do
all
with
the seasons.
with puppets making prank phone. Was that the Jerky Boys? As
I
puppets?
think it was inspired by. I don't think.
Yeah,
it was them.
definitely. No, I don't think it was them, but it was definitely inspired by.
I don't know. This might have been better if it was puppets making prank phone calls.
Oh my god, Muppet Crank.
I wouldn't not watch it.
I would watch the garbage out of that.
It could
Oh
only
my
help.
goodness. It couldn't hurt. Okay. Let's get to work, gentlemen. I mean, well, actually, you know what? Beforehand, have you guys seen the new Ghostbusters trailer?
I did.
No.
I just saw it today.
Yeah, it just dropped today. It's
Yeah.
looks quite good.
With Paul Rudd.
Yeah.
I saw that whatever the first trailer was that they dropped.
Yeah.
My interest is piqued.
Yeah, I was already sold.
Yeah.
At that one. But there was a new one, and I'm still sold. So
That other trailer, I've been watching that trailer for a year.
yeah, it's a good trailer.
Why isn't that just ready to go?
I think they're just waiting for the right time, because there's still a lot of people not willing to go to theaters. So
Is the right time October 30th? If they're just waiting for Halloween, I'll give it to them.
yeah, I don't know. That would make sense. Halloween does seem like a better time, regardless of anything.
Well, I guess the longevity of a movie and the availability to, I don't know, franchise it or make sequels or expound upon it or whatever is all contingent on box office. So if you know you're going to release it to a bunch of people not going to the movie theaters, then I guess their strategy is wait.
Yeah, I mean, I assume there's been a lot. I mean, I know there's been a lot of pushback with all the HBO stuff. People aren't crazy about being able to buy things like Black Widow or Raya and the Last Dragon on Disney Plus before, while they're out in theaters. But at the same time, it gets movies out there for people to watch them.
Aren't some movies more? And I could just be totally wrong, but I think some movies, especially ones with a younger audience, I think a lot of the return they get is on the merchandise, right? Especially like anything with kids, right?
Like cartoons in particular are like that. Like there was that Green Lantern cartoon that was great. It got great ratings, but nobody wanted to touch the action figures because the movie bombed, and so the show got canceled.
Right.
Like, so even the ratings had nothing to do with it because it's like, oh, people love this show. It's great. But we're not selling any toys, so canceled.
Yeah,
I don't know how that translates to movies.
I'm just thinking when I was a kid, like a new movie would come out, and like that Christmas, I would get all these toys about that movie.
Mhm.
Like I know the Ghostbuster toys were technically based on the cartoon, but the cartoon only came out because the movie was popular, right?
Yeah.
One fed the other. Yeah, I don't know. All right,
Well, there's been a big thing with Disney Plus and Black Widow that they I don't know, it's a big thing about the premiere access, and now the last one of these that they're going to do is Jungle Cruise. Like when Jungle Cruise comes out, they're going to have it in theaters and do the premiere access, and then Disney Plus isn't doing that anymore because they got into some fight with the movie theaters. From what I know, HBO still has this arrangement. So
Yeah, HBO was kind of the more, I guess, egregious one from a certain perspective. Like the Disney Plus ones, like, well, I pay for Disney Plus, and you want me to pay more to get to watch this? Like, you want me to rent this movie on the service that I already pay for? Seems like a dick move, but also it's like kind of contributes to the box office thing. So it's like they're not losing out on the total amount of dollars being spent specifically on that movie, whereas the HBO stuff is just like, nah, come watch it. You have HBO, this movie's yours, have fun. And I kind of see how that would rub a lot of movie studios the wrong way. But I don't know. The whole thing's weird.
Yeah, the Disney Plus thing. I mean, I've paid for a couple of the Premier Access things, but it would feel like far less of a punch in the gut if it was, like $10 or $15, like a ticket to a movie instead of $30. Like,
Yeah, it's like you're spending a family going out to the movie, which I guess I don't know.
which they know your whole family's gonna watch it, but it's still kind of a dick thing.
Like I said with Black Widow, right now the movie theaters are like, I guess they're pushing to get people in there. We paid $5 a ticket to see Black Widow at like 6 o'clock.
We did not pay $5. We paid regular old movie theater prices, and there weren't that many people in the theater, which was kind of nice, but also,
Man,
it's a strange situation that we're in right now, and things seem to be moving backwards a little bit. They're talking about you got to wear masks indoors now again, so
Yeah,
that's going to be
this Delta Burke variant.
yeah. You're doing a good job, America. You did it, guys. You did it. All right, let's speaking of stupid things, let's talk about Crank.
Man, guys, I'm so sorry. When I proposed this, I was like, how could this not be a winning situation, right? Like, it's a...
I was genuinely excited.
Ooh,
But-
man.
Let's get the all right, let's get the important stuff out of the way here. Crank was released on September 1st, 2006. It's distributed by Lionsgate. It was directed and written by a box of crayons. Actually, it was directed and written by Mark Neveldine and Brian Taylor, who followed up this particular masterpiece with classics like 2009's Gamer, 2010's Jonah Hex, and 2011's Ghost Rider Spirit of Vengeance. I swear I didn't cherry pick bad movies from their career. This was the list.
Bad Mark
And-
Neville Bean. Bad Brian, what's your face? Bad. You're bad.
And of course, they wrote and directed the sequel, Crank 2 High Voltage. It stars Jason Statham, Amy Smart, and Jose Pablo Cantillo. It tells the story of a contract killer, Chev Chelios, who, after supposedly killing someone that someone else didn't want killed, gets injected with, quote, the Chinese shit, which will kill him if he doesn't keep his heart rate up. I watched this. I did not pay for this. And I feel very good about that. I watched this via nefarious means in my living room with my wife, and I ate an ice cream cone when I did it. And the ice cream cone was by far the most enjoyable thing of the evening.
So I watched this. It was free on Peacock. You didn't have to use nefarious means. You could have just watched it. You stole it for no reason.
I still feel good that I stole it.
Just giving it away.
It's the principle of the thing. I will not take it for free. I steal.
I was going to try to watch everything on a different screen, so I was all set to watch this on my laptop, and then Jacqueline was like, I've never seen that. I want to see that movie. I was like, really? I don't think you want to watch this movie, because I have seen it before. I was like, I don't think you're going to enjoy this. And she was like, no, I want to watch it. So we watched on our TV, so that idea went right out the window. But
Did she enjoy it?
no. And we ate ice cream sundaes. We paused the movie in the middle and made ourselves some ice cream sundaes to go along with it. And I got myself a Monster energy drink to go along with it because I thought that was appropriate. And then when it got to that scene, I didn't realize this before I bought the Monster, thinking, oh, I'll have this during the movie. That'll be appropriate for this movie. And then in that scene, they specifically didn't show Monster. He grabbed a bunch of Red Bulls and Rockstar energy drinks. I don't know if Monster wasn't out when this, or maybe like they just didn't pay for the advertising. Or...
Sean, I can tell you something that's going to make you feel really snubbed. Monster was on that shelf below the Red Bull. He never went for the Monster.
Was it really?
Wow.
That son of a bitch.
What about you, Paul? How did you enjoy this movie? How
Do you
did you
guys know
take
what
this one in?
Do you know what a sectional is?
Is that like a couch with multiple parts?
Well,
Ooh, wait. Is it when you tear your scrotum into two pieces?
Silver
Is it-
Metal
wait, is
Tribe,
it-
but no, it is not.
Is it a satchel with multiple parts?
No, I'm not gonna like plug the company because I don't know, I don't know what your rules are about product placement. But
Oh no, go crazy! Nobody listens to this show.
Well, I'll just say this: I have a couch that came to my house in multiple boxes, right? Like we ordered a couch. I thought I took all the measurements right. Couch didn't fit. Didn't fit through my back door. Didn't fit into my basement. Didn't fit. So we had to move that couch into the living room, and then I had to like move the other couches around, and then for my basement, for my viewing den. Then I was like, well, now I need, I gotta have a couch that I can get down there. So like this Sactional thing, it's like literally a couch that you put together, and they shipped it to me. Like literally a truck showed up and unloaded like 20 boxes and drove away. So we had it as like one long couch for a long time. But a couple weeks ago, we sort of reconfigured it. So it was like a couch bed. Like it was basically like 4 cushions all like fenced in with the like side parts. So like when we watched Crank,
It's like 2 couches face to face.
yeah, kind of like
Oh, that's awesome.
we had this like this like very
Couch
comfy
fort.
couch bed thing. So that's how I watched it on my couch bed Sactional. But then the next day, when I was watching some other movies that I watched because I thought maybe these were movies that Crank wanted to be, so I figured I'd watch some other movies so that we could compare them on this podcast and talk about all the things that Crank wasn't. But when I watched those movies, I reconfigured my couch so now it's in an L shape. So I'm trying to give you a little more what you want, Chris, of how I watch these movies. So since my couch is now basically a collection of Legos that I can configure in different ways, I will include that in my report.
The fact that a company that named itself Sactional shipped you a bunch of pieces of couch in separate boxes and not in sacks instantly makes me hate them. If you're going to call yourself Sactional, ship things in sacks.
The company is called
Period.
Love Sack, so the couch is called
I know Love
Sactional.
Sack.
That only makes my point all the more salient.
I had a love sack. I won a love sack in a video game tournament. It was one of the original like big because they made bean bags, love sack,
Yes.
Mhm.
and like that's how they made their name. Oh, yeah. I
Yes,
went to a video game tournament in Brooklyn, and it was supposed to be like the end of the Wizard, which is totally going to be my pick when we get to W. And it was like I practiced like my head off for this tournament, and then I got there and I was against nobody who knew what they were doing. So I like kind of destroyed everyone in the first bunch of rounds, and then the last round was playing Super Mario Bros. 3 like at the end of the Wizard, and it was awesome. And then I won a trophy that was shaped like the Power Glove, and I won a love sack. Ah.
This literally feels like hearing your childhood dream.
It was one of the highlights.
Enter a video game tournament that was basically the Wizard. That sounds like everything you ever dreamed it would be.
I mean, it was at a barcade in Brooklyn, so it wasn't quite so bombastic and amazing, but it felt that way. And like everyone who was running the tournament was like super like into it, like watching me beat these games. Like I had to do like the first level of Contra as fast as I could. I had to beat like the first 6 characters in Punch Out, and I just demolished everybody, and I felt so proud because like I love video games, but I'm not that good at them overall. Like I'm not great at them. I just love them a lot. But I practiced on these ones. I went down, I watched YouTube playthroughs, and like I really, really put the work in to try and be good at these. And I was pretty good, and I did it. I was very proud of it.
Well,
Trophy's still in my living room.
Speaking of video games, this
Oh my God.
This movie
Oh my
was
God.
basically a video game ?
I was so angry because this thing started off with like a video game title screen, and it had all these like weird glitchy things and whatnot. It seemed to be like, okay, so there's going to be some sort of video game connection. That's kind of neat. But then there was no video game connection. I was like, so are you saying that this is just geared towards people like Call of Duty bros? Is that what this is about? And then there was a throwaway line like halfway through the movie. It was like, remember how I told you I developed video games? Well, I'm actually an assassin. Like, that's the video game connection? One throwaway line that he pretends to develop video games? So angry.
Oh, that's funny that you focused on that because I don't even think I heard him say that. Like,
I remember him saying that. Was this the first time you guys saw this?
Yeah.
yes,
And did either of you take the time to watch Crank 2?
Oh God, no.
I watched half of it.
Oh, please tell me. How do they explain that he's still alive?
Yeah, I really like after this was over, even though I had no interest in watching Crank 2, I kind of wanted to watch it just for the sake of being able to talk about it for the podcast. And
Just
then,
real quick for our listeners, at the end of Crank, he falls out of a plane.
spoiler alert! Spoiler
spoiler
alert!
alert. He falls out of a plane and doesn't land in like a dump truck full of pillows. He lands on a car, as in like his innards should have been liquefied by that.
And honestly, he may have died on his way down. Like
Exactly.
the Chinese drug that was threatening to blow up his heart, the whole thing.
He got injected with again.
He got injected with a double dose of it. There's a good chance he was dead before he hit the car.
Well, and let's be clear about this. He fell from such a height that he had time to make a rather lengthy phone call and leave a message.
He had the clear. I mean, I don't know how the wind didn't just muffle that phone call away, but it was crystal clear coming through her machine. I am impressed with his phone carrier. I want that phone carrier. Was it Verizon? Was it AT&T?
Well, they make that joke. They make that joke in Crank 2. He says, you know, didn't you get my call? And she's like, what call? And they play the answering machine message, and it's just wind.
Okay.
But anyway,
Okay, that's a solid gag.
yeah. I wanted to watch Crank 2 because I wanted, you know, us to be able to talk about that too, and then also I actually thought maybe it would be better than the first one. I was like, if the first one ends in such a way that he falls out of a helicopter, you know, and should be dead, then the second one can't take itself so seriously. Like it will have to be what I thought this would be, you know, like sort of tongue in cheek, more comedic. Like it will have to be more ridiculous and therefore more funny. But it took itself as seriously as the first one, and it was basically the same movie. The only thing that was sort of different, and this was maybe a better choice actually, was it starts with the triad guys removing his heart because like the main triad guy wants his heart because he's like obviously got the best heart ever. He's withstood this poison and, you know, whatever. So they take out his heart and they put in an artificial heart. And to keep going, he has to keep juicing himself with electricity to keep his artificial heart going. And I watched half of it and then I gave up.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah. I think I know why, Paul. Did you recently like watch The Transporter for the first time? You're like, this was a great action movie, because that's one of the best action, in my opinion. That's like a top 10 action movie right there. The Transporter, that's solid. And then you were like, oh, I want to watch more like this. Is that what happened here?
Then I'll watch The Transporter then. No,
It came out of the Fast movies, right?
we watched all the Fast movies, and Jason Statham is the villain in the 7th Fast and Furious movie. And, you know, he's good. Like he's I don't know if that one was the best movie, but like he's a solid villain and like very enjoyable to watch. Then in the 8th movie, they make him part of the team, which is a thing they regularly do in these Fast and Furious movies. Like somebody's a villain and then they have to team up with them in the next movie. But apparently it was a big friggin' deal that they made Jason Statham part of the team because he sort of like kills this beloved character in the previous movie, and they're like, how could they work with this guy? You know, like how would they forgive him for this egregious sin? Which is true. It's like unbelievable. But he, in the 8th movie, he had really great chemistry with The Rock. Like they were so funny together, which is obviously why they made that spin-off movie. But we watched the Fast and the Furious movies, and in the 8th one, Jason Statham's hilarious. He's got this really funny scene with a baby. and my wife thought that was funny. And then we watched Hobbs and Shaw, and we liked it. And then we were on this Jason Statham kick, so we watched Death Race 2000, which was pretty good. And then I was psyched for these movies, and they were
So wait,
a thing.
you've never seen Transporter?
Never seen Transporter.
Me neither.
Oh no, that's oh god, I misunderstood what was going on here. That's the one you should watch. That's my favorite Jason Statham action movie. He is that it's a great action movie. It gets a little ridiculous again in the action movie genre, which I give some leeway there. It's it's an action movie. It's not a movie. It's an action movie. But as far as action movies goes, Transporter's great.
Well, you know what else was weird about this, right? When I think of Oscar-winning acting, I don't necessarily think of Jason Statham. But what he does well, and he sort of fills this certain niche of of action film hero kind of guy. And he is funny. Like, I've seen him in some of these things that are comedies, and he is when it's the right script, he is funny to watch, and he
was great in Snatch.
Yeah, he can throw some zingers out there.
How long on them sausages, Charlie? Just 5 minutes, 10 minutes ago.
But
he was great.
The other thing that seems to be crazy about him is he can do some crazy stunts. Like in Hobbs and Shaw, I'm pretty sure it was not a stunt double, and he's parkouring off stuff. Like he's climbing things and jumping off them. He sort of had to escape from this prison, and it was amazing watching the stuff that he did. And I'm sure he's done that in other action movies, which is why he's this action star. So
that's what the Transporter is.
Yeah. So why was this so? Bleh,
I mean, this was such a great idea. Like I said, I was so excited for this movie, and then you said it took itself so seriously, and it was all. I didn't think at first. I laughed a lot because I didn't think it was taking itself as seriously as it seemed to be taking itself. Because I mean, it was just so completely ridiculous, and it was shot like an episode of MTV Sports. There was just all these weird jump cuts and visual effects going all over the place. Like, it was so extreme. And it was so bad. It kept going and getting worse and worse as it went. And I couldn't believe my eyes. I thought Jason Statham is great in comedy, and he's I don't remember if I've actually seen The Transporter, but I know he's a very capable action guy. So a premise this stupid, there was no way this wasn't going to be great. Unless they took it really seriously, which they kind of did. Yeah,
taking it seriously is the active thing here, because I thought how could this not be a winning thing? He has to keep his heart rate up to stay alive. He's going to do ridiculous stuff. And at one point I was maybe they needed a different actor in this role. Maybe they needed a more comedic actor. And then I was no, I've seen him do funny stuff. I know he could be the right guy for this if it was the right kind of script. It was just that they really wanted to, they were really trying to make some gritty crime drama with this ridiculous premise. And it would have been better if it took itself less seriously.
So when you say with a different actor, you mean Chevy Chase or?
Sure. Chevy Chase as Chase Chevy. What is he?
Cheb Chelios.
Cheb Chelios. Chevy Chase as Cheb Chelios.
Cheb Chelios and Trank.
That's what I want to see.
It's the opposite of Crank. It's Trank. He has to put himself to sleep.
I'll pitch you a movie that combines Caddyshack and Crank.
Cranky Shack.
He's got to win the golf tournament, but keep his heart rate over 50 beats per minute.
I mean, let's even getting past the just the general crappiness of what we were watching with it was so Call of Duty bro. This movie was so male fantasy. It was just through the roof. It was difficult to watch.
There was something you said, Chris. What did you say about the camera work or the editing
MTV
or
Sports
something.
Jump cuts.
It
Yeah,
reminded me of MTV Sports.
MTV Sports. Yeah, like that was yeah. Like there was all these things that they tried to do that where they had, you know, subtitles for certain lines, or they had these visual jokes, or sometimes he's like talking on the phone to somebody and you could see that person like projected on a wall that he was running by or something like that. Oh, this movie has a multitude of sins. One of those sins is too many automotive phone calls. Anyway, yeah, like they were trying to do all this fancy stuff, and like at one point I was like, you know, if they like leaned into this more, it would have even been better. Because one of the movies I watched when I was like, maybe Crank was trying to be some of these other movies. One movie I watched was Run Lola Run. Have either of you seen that?
Yeah.
Yeah. Like, I was probably made, I don't know, 6-7 years earlier or something like that. But it's the same half hour 3 different times. Basically, it's a German movie, so basically they're trying to. There's this drug deal gone wrong, and they have to get $100,000, but it's German, so they have to get 100,000 Deutschmarks in a half hour before the guy comes to collect. And there's a couple of them where they fail, and then the clock sort of resets, and you see it with if things went slightly differently, this is how it might go, and if things went slightly differently, this is how it might go. And obviously, since they have a half hour to get this money, it's like fast paced, and it's a lot of people running, and it's all like kind of scored to this like heart pounding techno music. But they lean into these crazy things. Like sometimes sometimes they'll be running and then it'll be like an animated sequence, and you'll see it like a cartoon. And then sometimes it'll be like in black and white, or sometimes they show really fast snapshots to, show you what happened on a thing. And I almost even thought if Crank was more like outlandish with, different tricks, it would have been more watchable. Like they kind of did some of that stuff, but like in a I don't know, like, yeah, an MTV Sports kind of way.
And so you mentioned the guy on the wall when he was on the one phone call. Did you catch when he was in the car on the phone call, the guy was in his rearview mirror tiny?
The Vote for Pedro guy?
Yeah.
Vote for Pedro was in his mirror?
Yeah, he was in like the rearview mirror on the side of the door or whatever, but it was tiny. And I definitely missed that the first time I watched this years ago. And like it made me think, I think I'm missing other stuff. Like they gave you the one on the wall pretty big, and it was obvious. And then I'm like, am I missing a lot of other little things? And I think you're right. I think they should have. I feel like maybe they roped it in incorrectly. I think they had other weird stuff going on, which I kind of liked because like the drugs were affecting his brain or whatever. That one scene with the Japanese guy in the elevator, I'm pretty sure. And they didn't really sell the joke enough. I'm pretty sure when we're looking at his face, Jason Statham, he's supposed to be reading the subtitle, right?
I mean, that makes sense.
I think that's what they were trying to sell with that shot, but they didn't put their heart into it, because like you're facing the Chinese guy and there's a subtitle, and then all of a sudden you're facing Jason Statham and you can see the back of the subtitle.
Right.
Why would they be showing me that unless they're telling me that Jason Statham's reading the subtitle? Which is kind of funny. And like, I don't know, he's on, whatever drugs is in him is making him crazy or whatever. So like, I'm kind of on board. It was like, it was almost clever and it was almost funny, and they just didn't, I don't know if they undersold it or oversold it or something, but I feel like they missed the mark on that a couple times. It was like a close call.
Well,
didn't quite do it.
When it's like,
yeah, they really didn't stick the landing.
When it's the one gem in the pile of turds, it's a little bit hard to, appreciate it.
But what you're saying about it being one gem in a pile of turds, like, that's the thing. Like, this idea was a gem. This should have been great. It was such a constant missed opportunity. Like, piece after piece of it. Like, I laughed a bunch of times during this, and until it just stopped being funny, where it was like, oh, this is just making me uncomfortable now. Like, this is really just genuinely awful. Like, I mean, God, the homophobic bits in there were really just gross, and everything was super broy. And I know you're supposed to hate villains, but God, I hated watching that villain guy. It was so awful. Like, everyone was awful. Nobody was likable.
There was, well, yeah, this movie has a multitude of sins that I kind of tried to keep a running tally of, but you mentioned homophobic stuff. There was a lot of racial stuff in there, man. Like,
Yeah.
and again, I the day after I watched this movie, I tried to watch some other things where I was like, was this their inspiration? Like, was this their plan? But one of the things I watched was Lock, Stock, and Two Smoking Barrels.
It's a great movie.
Yeah, but like the way that there was some of these, I don't know, gangs or whatever you want to call them, like you know, groups of villains in this movie. There was the triad people, and you know, there was that gang in that sort of like weightlifting thing that he goes to in the beginning to get the location of the guy, which was completely weird. Like, at that point, he didn't even know what was wrong with him, and he's asking for cocaine. But anyway, yeah, he throws out some pretty racist stuff there. Chris, you mentioned that he keeps calling it that Chinese shit. There was one time when I think he pointed to somebody and said they were Al Qaeda, and I was like,
Yeah, yep.
Like,
oh, that was terrible. Oh my God.
Like,
it was threw the guy out of the car and started yelling Al Qaeda, Al Qaeda, and then everyone mobbed the guy. I was like, oh my God, that was that was awful.
The reason I bring up Lock, Stock, and Two Smoking Barrels is because it didn't seem weird to me that there was, I don't know what you want to call it. I guess I've used the term gangs, but like that there's let's say that there's not a lot of diverse representation in the criminal underworld, right? There's like sort of groups of people that are all, you know, that are all of the same ethnic background. Like, that's not weird to me, because that's like, you know, that's probably a thing that happens in life, and it's sort of more realistic that art mirrors life, and that, you know, I mean, even in Lock, Stock, and Two Smoking Barrels, there was, you know, there was sort of the one, you know, gang of the black guys, and there was you know, there was different groups in that movie, which is a far superior movie, obviously, but it's not weird that the representation looks that way in this sort of criminal underworld. It's weird that they needed to draw attention to racial stuff. Like, they could have just, you know, they all had guns, he could have just gotten into a fight with them.
Yeah. They did not need to go. They did not need to do what they did in those directions. And in a similar respect, there were this movie was also not very kind to women.
Holy crap, dude!
For the first chunk of the movie, women were literally decorations. There were no speaking roles for women until I think Amy Smart showed up, and the only women you saw were naked women dancing in the background, or just in cages or something. Like, they were literal
you said
decorations.
The first half of the movie, the last scene of the movie, there was literally girls hanging from decorations,
in the pods and stuff, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that was also pretty troubling. Like, it was also, I mean, it was definitely part of this whole male fantasy thing, because everywhere that they went, all the characters that they glorified, even as like the bad guys that they glorified as like men with power, all had women surrounding them as decoration. Like, not as people, not just this movie treated women like trash. And then there was the whole, like, Amy Smart's character was relatively entertaining. I think Amy Smart's pretty fun to watch. The sex scene, though, was a little it started off really rapey.
I was just about to say, like, hold the phone there. You want troubling? You want to talk about troubling? Was that a sex scene, or was that a rape scene? Like, she says no twice, and she punches him,
and then she changes her mind, which is, I believe, the male power fantasy, right? That's no means yes. That's like a whole thing with this type of audience that this movie seemed to be courting, and it's fucking gross.
So I don't know. So the girls that were being used as decorations, you're right. I think the lack of a role for a woman other than that is the problem. The fact that the women were in like the balls or whatever, I thought that was supposed to be showing that these were the bad guys, right? I thought they were trying to make us not care when the quote unquote, we'll call him the protagonist, when he was killing these guys. They have to paint these guys as bad guys real quick. And I thought most of the, what appeared to be abuse towards women was set so that I thought they were just trying to identify the bad guys. So I kind of let that go. Like, that wasn't the problem for me, because I was like, right, these are the bad guys. They're whatever. They're bad guys. They're doing bad things.
I would have bought that. I would have bought that more, except for, like, it seemed like they were painting them in a light of, like, look at how much power I have. Like, yes, you're supposed to hate these people, but you're also supposed to be, like, somewhat envious of them. And Chef Chelios also was one of these people. Like, he worked with them, and he was also running around calling people faggot and stuff. Like, there was no likable part of this, so it never really occurred to me that that was not intended to be glorified, because you're supposed to like this guy who worked for these guys, and, like, he would have given it up to be with Amy Smart, who he didn't really particularly seem to like all that much either. So I don't know. The whole thing just felt super gross. But yes, particularly the rapey scene was super gross. That and the yelling Al Qaeda thing were probably the things that stuck out to me more than anything else.
I think I'm on the same page as Chris with this. Because, Sean, I think it's interesting that you just referred to him as the protagonist, because, like, you can't call him the hero. He's not the hero of the movie. But he is the main character of the movie, and we're supposed to invest in him, and we're supposed to go, we're supposed to root for him. We're supposed to go along with this journey, right? I mean, I could be wrong, but the first time he does any kind of redeeming thing is when he tells Amy Smart that, he was giving up this life for her, that, like, that's why he's in this predicament, is he was trying to get out, and he didn't assassinate that, that triad guy, because, he wanted to leave the business and run away with her, or whatever it was, right? And that's like a fucking hour into the movie. Like, that's like the movie was literally half over by that point, and prior to that, we saw him drive through a mall, start a gang war, rob a gas station. I mean, he could have paid for that stuff, like he's like a highly paid assassin. Like, he could have just put it on a credit card.
It's not like he's going to be around long enough to pay off the credit card. Put it all on a credit card. I think at some point, I'm going to say the 90s or the 2000s, I feel like movies really started moving away from. It was easy. It's easier in the old movies. The protagonist is a hero, and I feel like there's a lot of movies where there is no hero, and I think my mind is just kind of adjusted to that, where it's like I'm not invested. Like, when I was watching this, I'm not invested with him the way that I am with whatever, Wendy and Peter Pan, or Dorothy and Wizard of Oz, where it's like the protagonist is the good guy. He's the bad guy. I don't think he had any real redeeming moments, because you're saying his redeeming moment was when he said he didn't want to kill anybody anymore. Like, he's going to stop actively murdering people. To say that that's redeeming is kind of,
it's redeeming by this movie standards.
Right. So it's like, he's the bad guy. The other guys are bad guys too. I mean, honestly, at the end of the
guys are sort of worse guys, but not by a lot.
At the end of the day, the more kills this movie racked up, probably the better for society in general, right? I mean, everybody's the winner as he's killing off the bad guys while they're slowly killing him. The only real good guy in the movie, I think, was Smart. I mean, she didn't do anything wrong. She seemed nice enough.
She thought he programmed video games.
Right. She seemed like, I mean, a druggie. But as far as that goes, I mean, she didn't seem like she was hurting anyone else, so
I mean,
we'll call her the good guy.
you can have movies that are mostly bad guys, like certainly the anti-hero idea is a popular one, and that's why we watch things like The Punisher and stuff like that. Like that's, like rooting for the bad guy is certainly a thing, but like you still gotta like the bad guy. Like I don't feel like there was anything that set him apart from the worst guys, like just that he was the one we were following. He wasn't particularly likable.
Right. No, I agree with you on that. I think but I do like Punisher. So I think when there's an anti-hero, we say anti-hero, but the word hero's in there. So like Punisher, like you disagree with him, but on his level, he's the good guy.
Whereas then they explain his motives enough that you can understand his perspective.
Right.
That's what makes that
right.
work.
And you can agree, and you can sit there and you can agree with the other characters in that about stopping him. You can agree with, Daredevil or whatever and stopping the Punisher. But at the same time, the Punisher doesn't become the villain because he is doing what he thinks is right. So he's a problem. He's not a villain. Whereas everybody in this movie, it's not like Chelios thought it was right to kill people. Like he knew he was wrong. Like that's why he wanted to stop. So everybody in here is the bad guy, and it's not anti-hero, it's bad guy, which I think is a little different. They're all just bad guy. There's no anti-hero, and there's just no one to root for in the movie. It's more like just watching a piece of a story unfold. And again, I think best outcome, everybody dies. The crank world is a better place.
And that's what happened, except they made a sequel.
Except somehow he didn't die.
Somehow he didn't die.
Somehow his innards were not liquefied, and he lived to see another day and another movie.
Oh, man.
Yeah.
Okay, we're going to take ourselves a quick commercial break, and when we come back, we will finish our discussion about the wonderful, glorious Crank, starring Jason Statham. You're listening to A Theater Near You from Geekade.com. Stick around. And now here's a quick look at some of the original content available now from our partners and Geekade.com. First up, the Noble Bidet. If you listen to the Stone Age Gamer podcast, you know that my partner Dan is a connoisseur of butt sprayers and something of a bidet evangelical. So when he heard that the fine fellows over at the Weekend Rental podcast had finally followed his obviously correct advice regarding backside maintenance, he was thrilled. The boys spent some time this week discussing just how much of their lives have improved since welcoming bidets into said lives. But if anal cleanliness isn't what you're here for some reason, they also discussed the recent sealed Super Mario 64 insanity and some other video game related things as well. Squirt some water up your crack and give a listen to Weekend Rental episode 104, The Gamer's Bidet Up. Next, podcasts are great, but sometimes you just want to watch a man in a vest play video games online. Fortunately for you, and really all of us, Dean the Vest Lord DeFalco exists to satisfy that very specific need, and it is a need. Join him every night at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on Twitch for lots of joyous game playing. What game will the Vest play next? It actually turns out it was Blaster Master Zero on my recommendation, and it seems that he liked it. But you'll have to tune in to his channel to see more. Head on over to twitch.tv/vest_lord for all the gaming goodness you can handle. Finally, on an all-new SNES podcast, Greg and Joe discuss the weird and wacky puzzle game Yoshi's Cookie. Mario and Yoshi are in a cookie factory, and they have to make the cookies disappear. But not by eating them? It's a weird one, but it's still considered a classic. Find out why in the SNES podcast episode 167, Yoshi's Cookie. For all this great content and more from us and our partners, be sure to keep your eyes on Geekade.com.
Hey, what's going on? It's the best dressed in a vest, east or the west. None can contain the vest. And let me tell you something. I got something real special here for you today. You're never even going to know about it. You've never heard of it before. I mean, you might have, but you probably never heard of it before. And that are the chairs from Ewin Racing. My God, they are comfy. I'm sitting on one right now. And I got to tell you, between the extensive back tilt, the body tilt that you can get on the chair, just the rigidity of it all, and like it comes with this awesome lumbar support pillow. Like I could game for hours, man, and I feel great. 110% all the time. Thanks to this Ewin Night Series chair. And you know what? You can get one yourself too. You can head on over to Ewin Racing, and when you buy one of the chairs, you can go ahead and type in the coupon code Geekade and get yourself 20% off. And you know what? It's just not the Vest Lord that's feeling Ewin. It's Boggy, Games Radar. I mean, PC Gamer, IGN, guys, these are legit companies. It's not just your old boy, the Vest Lord here. Everyone's into these chairs, and you should check them out. It's definitely one of the best chairs you can get for $200 or under. And if you need something a little more spicy, a little more expensive, a little better, they got stuff for you too, man. Go ahead, check it out right now. Ewin Racing, Vest Lord approved.
And now back to the show. Just seriously, the amount of disappointment I had that this wasn't just a super fun. I'm thinking like the levels, maybe not quite A-team levels, but that kind of personality of just being just so unbelievably stupid that it couldn't possibly take itself even remotely seriously. So let's just go nuts. Let's be stupid with it. And that they didn't own that was such a disappointment to me. I was so excited for this movie.
Yeah.
I think the first like sort of egregious sin that the movie has is like, why does that guy even inject him with that stuff in the first place? Like,
right?
That guy has been brought in to eliminate him, right? Like he broke the he broke the rules, he broke the contract of his employer, and then somebody else, has been brought in to fix the problem. Why not just take him out?
No, that's not.
Like, why?
That's not what happened.
That's not what happened?
No. Nobody knows that Chinese guy doesn't get killed.
Yeah, nobody knew that. That
Nobody
guy
knew
just
that.
wanted him dead because like he didn't like him, right? Wasn't that
But
it? Or,
didn't he?
what the hell was his motive behind it?
Didn't he go to his employer, his handler? Like, that was the scene where he was in the pool.
Yeah, that was his handler, and then that's where he found out that his handler was working with the guy that injected him with the stuff. And I don't remember why.
And his handler let him get killed because... All right, so his handler, pool guy, told Chelios to kill the Chinese guy. Chelios didn't, but asked the Chinese guy to pretend like he's dead for 2 days. The Chinese guy pretended like he was dead, and then apparently instantly, Hong Kong, that's what they said, Hong Kong started breathing down pool guy's throat because they were mad that he took out this other guy. So then pool guy was like, this is too much heat. I gotta make things okay. I gotta make it seem like I got hurt too, or, they already got payback, or they're going to try to kill me. And my way of making it look like they got payback, that we're even now, is I'm going to let this other guy who's unincorporated with anybody kill Chelios, because everybody knows I love Chelios. So when they see that Chelios is dead, they'll say, okay, it's even. So then he hires Baldy to kill Chelios. And Baldy hated Chelios, and I don't think they ever told us why.
I don't think so either. I just got the impression that it was a rival guy that just hated the guy. And
for no apparent reason.
Yeah.
And then why they use that thing, that's where you're right. Why the fuck did they use that thing? Moreover, why would they make a video of it? Like, what if he just left with that video, went to the cops, and was like, I'm going to die, they killed me, here's the proof. Like, he just videotaped himself killing the guy.
Yeah.
And then left the guy with the DVD. And then, when Chelios is watching the DVD, they make it clear that they're recording him in the room watching the DVD, but the doors aren't locked. So why did we do this?
Yeah, it was a very elaborate plan.
How can a recording of him be on the DVD?
No, I don't think that. Well,
No, I
maybe-
think the way it was shot, we were looking through the camera while he was looking at the DVD. But still,
They were trying to tell-
they took the time to record him getting injected, and then like edit this thing together, burn it to a DVD.
I think us seeing him watching the DVD was the movie people, the director, trying to show us that he was being recorded. That's what I took that shot to mean.
So you're
I thought
you're
it was
saying,
the director trying to convince us how cool he is.
You're saying I was watching the camera shot within the movie and not the camera shot within the movie within the movie.
Exactly.
Nailed
Okay.
it. You
Great.
got him.
Got it.
And they could
Well-
have done a better job explaining that, or explaining why they were recording him watch the movie.
Why the first chunk
I
of the
think-
movie was in first person? Because Karen said if the whole movie's like this, I'm out.
I think everything that you've explained is needlessly complicated. I think if that guy really wanted to kill him, there was better ways to do it than to do the like old-timey 1960s Batman show plan and go like I've set in motion a system of events that is going to kill you eventually, and I will bask in my own evilness while I tell you about it, right? Like, that never works for anybody except the hero. And then, yeah, why did he pick up... Like, if he got up and he felt that awful and he'd been knocked out the night before, why is his first instinct to pick up this DVD? Like, go see a doctor.
And what did Baldy? I can't remember his name. The
Doesn't matter.
assassin.
It doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter. What did he think Chelios was going to do with his, like... I know they didn't think he was going to make it that long, but what did he think he was going to do with, like, an hour or two to live? Clearly he's going to get a gun and try to kill you. And since he doesn't care if he lives or dies, because you've already said he's going to die, he's going to come out, like...
He's one of the best killers in
Right.
the world.
Just
This
an
is a bad
instant
idea.
firefight. Like, I'm not saying he was going to be successful, necessarily, but it's an unnecessary risk. And then, like, he was shocked when this shit happened. It's like, of course this happened. What do you think was going to happen? It's wild. It's wild.
Really just thought this was going to go down without a fight. Like, now I get to watch you through this weird video footage, died, like when I could have just,
Stayed there and watched you die.
yeah, tie him up. Chain him up.
You've
Do
got
everything in the
multiple
world.
guys and lots of guns.
Yeah.
Just
Fill him up with some kind of poison and then, like, don't leave. Just kind of hang out there and watch him die. There were so many better ways to do this. And if you were going to have, like, I was hoping it was going to be some sort of, like, mad scientist or something that just, like, well, I thought I was injecting you with a superhuman formula, but instead it's going to make your heart explode unless you don't keep your heart rate up. And then, like, he goes out to try to kill the mad scientist or something. I don't know what the plot should have been, but it shouldn't have been this.
Well, all right. So that leads me to my next egregious sin about this movie. I think the first egregious sin is this, the fact that it's the old timey Batman show plan. Yeah, like I sort of mentioned before, like when he does the first couple things in this movie, which is go see that gang so he can get the location of Baldy. And then I think he even goes to his handler, and there's that pool scene. And then it might be after that scene that he actually, or maybe it's between the two scenes. I don't know. I think it's when he's driving through the mall that he actually hears from that doctor as to like what will keep him alive, which is keeping his heart rate up. So up until that point, he's just been guessing. Which it's like it's not a bad idea for the movie, right? That like there's some trial and error of this, and he realizes if he keeps his heart rate up, he feels better, until someone verifies that for him. But what the hell was gained by having that doctor be unavailable until like the end of the movie? Like it would have been the same movie if he went to the doctor at the beginning. Do you know what I'm saying?
No, I agree. Yeah, and like he could have kept giving him more information as he goes along or something. But I will say that I genuinely laughed out loud at the driving through the mall bit. That was pretty funny.
A little reminiscent of Blues Brothers.
Yeah, yeah.
I don't know if they were purposely trying to give a nod of the hat. I kind of liked it. I was like, yeah, all right, Blues
I
Brothers.
feel like I don't want to give him that kind of credit, but yeah, no, it was. I liked that bit. It was still towards the beginning of the movie where I wasn't sure where it was going, and I thought it was just going to get more silly from that point, and it didn't. It got less silly.
The doctor, which I don't know at what point when you want to talk about that doctor, because that was a completely bizarre addition. I guess it kind of made sense, right? Because he's like a mafia doctor. So like I guess it made sense that that was his, that's what his insurance plan covered, right? Is Dwight Yoakam as the mafia doctor. But so at one point the doctor tells him go to the hospital and get epinephrine. So that seems like it should have been his first stop, right? Like that seems like it's the thing that should have kept him going. And then when he finally does end up there at the doctor's, he hooks him up to a insulin pump, right? That is feeding him some kind of stimulant.
Right. Yeah, I was going to say, I don't think it was insulin in there, but yeah, it was like an insulin pump that he duct taped to his back, I guess, to like give him a nice steady drip of, I don't know if it was epinephrine or whatever stimulant.
So, like, that might have, I don't know, made the movie make more sense and have like a better flow to it if he just got that thing at the beginning, right? Or like close to the beginning, because there was sometimes that he was like having a conversation and his heart is slowing down and then he's got to, do something. And you're like, if you have to keep your heart moving, why are you sitting down in this restaurant and having a meal? Right. And then there was sometimes when, the movie seemed to do a really good job of showing you that like he just needed to fucking be on the move. Like when he was running from the hospital, with his giant boner, or when he, I guess, that scene in the car when like he's driving and she's performing a sex act on him, like there was things that were sort of supposed to be fast paced and crazy. And I think if in between that stuff, he had this little machine to keep him going so that he could have expositional conversation, you might have, I don't know, bought it more. It might have made the movie flow better. I'm not sure.
Before it was like a week or so ago, I saw a movie called Gunpowder Milkshake. Have you seen this thing?
I watched it last night.
Yeah. This movie could have stood to be more of that kind of stupid. Like the doctor part actually reminded me of this. You were talking about that doctor and I was like, man, what else did I see recently that had like some sort of like weird doctor that fixes up people? And then there was that whole bit where the doctor double crossed her and there was that completely insane action sequence that happened after that where her arms didn't work. That was pretty funny. But I didn't love Gunpowder Milkshake, but I loved things about it. And it was that kind of stupid that I was hoping to get out of Crank.
The doctor, so as far as stupid or at least funny, the doctor, it was a character that with a little bit more design, I think might have added something to it. Because like, him having that conversation on the plane, the joke didn't land as well as they wanted it to, but I saw where they were going with it. Like, he's having I can't remember what he says. He's talking on the phone, and there's like an old woman next to him, an old man. Mm-hmm. And he's like, I bet you got a raging hard on. You got to, like, whatever. He's saying some offensive shit into the phone. And then he, I don't remember what his line is, but he hangs up the phone or whatever, and he's like, patience or whatever, I don't remember what his line was, but it was like, you had a fair setup here, he's in a public place and he's talking to this ridiculous thing, but they didn't take that doctor who was quirky and drive him weird enough or silly enough to be I don't know, to be great, to be
Yeah, it was just one missed opportunity after another.
The phone continuity with this movie was like all over the map too, right? Like he's got a cell phone she's got a landline.
She's rocking an answering machine.
Yeah, with an answering machine. You know, he like there were times when I'm sure he would have been better served by having a Bluetooth earpiece. I mean, even though in 2006 maybe we wouldn't have quite the same technology, you could still stick a thing in the phone that you put in your ear, you know. I think this movie was like hampered a lot by people having to like talk on phones in the car. And I don't know, finding a way to write it with less of that might have helped a lot.
There were a couple scenes where I was wondering where he was keeping the phone. When he was running around in a hospital gown, sometimes you could see both his hands doing stuff, and like at one point you even see he's got the gun like tucked under his arm.
He had
And
the phone in his sock, right?
Did he?
Yeah.
Yeah, he stuffed the phone in his
Oh,
sock.
I missed that. All
Yeah.
right. I was like, I think when at one point he jumped on the motorcycle in the gown, and like you see his ass, and it's like, well, he's naked except for this thing, and now he's driving the motor. Where the fuck's his phone?
Also, why did he get naked to put the hospital gown on? Why did he take his underwear off?
I was totally about to say that. Like, what kind of plan was that? I mean, I guess all that was gained from it was that we had the joke of having his ass hang out on the motorcycle, but like
That was literally
Yeah.
it. That was all that was gained
as a
by it.
strategy, it was highly flawed.
Like dressing up in a hospital gown, sure, but getting naked then dressing in the hospital gown, what the point? What the hell was that?
And not for nothing, when he was running out, look, there's so many things to pick on about this movie. I shouldn't even bring this up, but it jumped out at me when I was watching it this time with Jacqueline. They're running through the shirt factory or whatever, and like they're coming down the fire escape outside or whatever. And there's this big gun battle, and I feel like for a professional assassin, I was like, you know what, he's missing a lot. Like he's just not landing these bullets. Like they're just not hitting. And I was like, all right, whatever. You know, I grew up watching the A-Team. I can let this go. But in the very next scene, he's like spinning the car around, shooting backwards over his shoulder, one bullet, and hitting the driver in another car, fucking quarter-mile back, and that car goes flying. I'm like, you made that shot? You made the behind-the-shoulder, moving car to moving car, driver in the head, take out the whole car shot, but you couldn't make the 30-foot away up the fire escape shot? Because I can make the 30-foot away up the fire escape shot. So, I don't know. It jumped out at me.
That's a very valid point. I didn't think about that. I did think about, that he was missing an awful lot during that scene. Like, this guy's supposed to be really good, but then I didn't even think about the fact that just a scene or two later, he's spinning around in cars doing all that crazy stuff and not having any problems there.
What are you going to do? What are you going to do?
I don't know, man. I don't even know what else to say about this movie.
I also watched Chud and Cloak and Dagger. You guys took the time to do that.
Oh man,
I did not have the time to do that.
I
But,
didn't.
Oh, you
I
should've.
promised you I was going
Both
to do it, and I
Jim.
didn't watch. I didn't watch either of them. I did watch a bunch of stuff to like try to cleanse my palate of Crank. I mean, I told you some of it that I watched. I also watched Speed. I was like, what did this movie think it was
Oh,
going to
well,
be?
there you go.
And then I was like, let me watch Speed. That's a far superior movie.
It was definitely an inspiration. Like,
yeah.
they didn't come up with this without, having seen Speed first.
And Speed took itself exactly as seriously as it needed to. Like, Speed's how you do this kind of thing. Or what was the train movie? Unstoppable. You guys ever see Unstoppable?
No.
Oh, that movie's great. It's a runaway train movie with Chris Pine and Denzel Washington.
Oh, yeah, I've
It's
seen it,
fantastic.
but so long ago that I don't remember much of it.
The best kind of stupid. It's so great. Just runaway train.
I remember a big plot point was that the track curved and you had to, yeah.
Oh no, the track's gonna curve. What are you gonna do?
You know what, mate? Is that... I'm trying to think where this... Did Crank not have a lot of good one-liners? You need some good one-liners in an action movie, right? They tried that. They tried to sell us that you need a hand, but it just didn't matter. It was kind of a dick thing to do to a guy that was helping you out. Like after he chopped off the one guy's hand and then he shoots him in the head,
Right.
he throws the severed hand to his buddy,
Oh, that was messed up.
and it's like, and then he said, "You need a hand," and like, first of all, you got to say the cool line either right after you kill the bad guy or right before you kill the bad guy. But either way, you got to direct it at the bad guy. not your sidekick who's been trying to help you out.
They unceremoniously kill him.
Right, and you're just going to be a dick to him? Why are you being a dick to him? He's helping you. That guy was nice to him. I don't know.
So
That's not how to make that line.
I'll tell you that Crank 2 did have some more one-liners. But again, like it was literally the same style and almost plot of the first movie with a lot of the same beats, which is why I turned it off. I mean, it was better, but it was marginally better. Yeah. So in the second one, Chris, you didn't watch any of it. You told me you were going to watch the beginning of it.
I was going to try to, but I did not wind up having time. Hoping to get some today. Dog sick today. So.
Yeah. I'm sorry. I hope they're feeling better. Yeah. In the second one, he they take out his heart and go give it to some like head triad guy, and he gets this fake heart that he's got to keep juiced or it slows down. I think he calls the mob doctor pretty early in that one, and gets his he gets his instructions about like what he needs to do to shock the heart. And the mob doctor has some more one-liners, and like I guess it's a little bit of what you were saying, Sean, is these outlandish things that he says in front of people. So some of that stuff, I guess, lands a little bit better. Vote for Pedro comes back in the second movie, which I was like, how the fuck is this guy back? He died in the first movie, but I guess it didn't stop them bringing Chelios back, so why would it stop them from bringing the other guy back? But then they reveal that the new guy is not the same guy from the first movie. It's his twin brother, who wants revenge for his brother's death. Also, in the vein of things that are racially insensitive and gender and sexuality offensive. This guy is disabilities insensitive. He's got uncontrollable body Tourette's. So like every now and then he'll just start like shaking and like cursing and like smashing into things. Yeah, I'm trying to remember what else. There's another like very public.
Who does he want revenge against? Everyone that killed his brother's dead.
And Chelios tells him that, but then he's like, well, I'll help you bring down this guy because you were a friend of my brother or something like that. Yeah, there's another very public sex scene with Amy Smart. That's literally another very public sex scene with Amy Smart. This time at a racetrack, and they like, he's like, I have to rub against people to create static electricity, and they just, he just starts like nailing her in the middle of the racetrack, and it's like very over the top gratuitous. So basically after that is when I turned it off.
See, now I want to watch it. That sounds like they went too far. That's great. I need static electricity.
That's not how any of this works.
I mean, again, it was better, but only marginally better, and it was the same vein and the same style as what was wrong with the first one. So it's almost like, it's almost like watching the first one, but with I don't know, slightly better ideas. like it's almost like they fixed none of the big overarching problems, and they just fixed minor problems.
That's progress.
I mean, the whole thing just makes me sad.
Yeah.
It's time I'll never get back, but I don't know. Do we have anything else to talk about with this? Are we done? Can I forget about this movie now?
Yeah, I think so. I want to be able to say more about it, but I don't have anything.
Yeah. I'm tapped out. There's just not enough. It wasn't even interesting enough to really go even further with.
The
So,
shootout at the end was weird. Like maybe it's because I was so annoyed with the movie by that point anyway, but like I didn't really understand what was happening with that shootout at the end. And then the fact that the guy that he saved was sort of the surprise, like ace in the hole. I was literally like, when did you contact this guy and why is he here and what the fuck's happening?
And how did all those guys miss from that close a range? There was like 5 or 6 guys with the supposedly dead guys. I don't know, Chinese mafia. I don't know what they were supposed to be. Whatever they were supposed to be. They were all drug dealers, right? Is that what it was? I don't even remember. Whatever. They all had like submachine guns out and they were pointing at the guys and then everyone started shooting. They were like 10 feet away from each other. And that shootout went on for like 15 minutes. How isn't everybody dead instantly? They were so close.
Yeah, I think they overestimated my investment in that shootout. Like, it should have been faster, better, awesomer. At that point, it was just too little, too late.
Yeah, it seemed like it was supposed to be this like big, clever reveal, and like I just did not care. I could not have given less of a crap at that point.
But yeah, that's all I got.
All right, so let's get to the fun part. Let's talk about what we're gonna do next because I don't know. I'm done with this movie. So
Wait,
we're
hang on.
No, go ahead.
But I can tell both of you before you even tell me your picks that I know both of your picks.
Okay, all right.
I'm not gonna. I don't. Here, I'll write it on a piece of paper.
Here, you know what? Send me a Facebook message, but I won't look at it.
While he's doing that, real quick, I did watch Chud and Cloak and Dagger. Chud, I suggest everybody. So I assume from our conversation, everyone's saying they wouldn't recommend Crank. Usually, Chris asks.
Correct. Yeah, that's right.
I think we're all
I
saying
figured that was a moot point, but yeah, let's.
Yeah,
I think it's pretty safe to say that nobody here recommends Crank.
right. Chud, I highly recommend because the ending made no fucking sense. The ending was just like everybody just walked away. They were like, "Yeah, there's mutant monsters everywhere, and like there's an explosion." But like you already know for sure that not all the monsters are where the explosion was. They already got out. They're already killing people in buildings. And then the guy from Home Alone is just like the tall guy from Home Alone. I can't remember his name. He's just like, all right, let's go home. And you're like, but there's still all these monsters everywhere. They just killed John Goodman and like nobody cares. Like they're not in the sewers. We know this for sure. So that was weird. And then Cloak and Dagger, when we got done with that, Jacqueline was just horrified at children in the 80s. Like, you said you didn't get a chance to rewatch it?
No, I haven't rewatched it in years.
It's from my childhood as well, and I loved it as a child. And rewatching it now, I'm like, this is fucked up. It's messed up what kids were allowed to do in the 80s, one, what they thought kids should be doing in the 80s, two, and what they were encouraging. At one point, Jack, the imaginary friend Jack in the movie, tells the little boy, who's the kid from E.T., right?
I think so.
Who's like supposed to be like maybe 9 in this movie or 10, something like that. He's young. He's like, this bad guy is chasing him, and somehow the kid ends up with the gun, and the imaginary friend's like, kill him, shoot him, you should kill him. And the kid's like, I don't think I want to. And then like the bad guy says something, and the kid freaking kills him, just shoots him dead.
Wow.
And then Jack's like, good work. And they just roll on, just moving on, heading towards the happy ending in 5 minutes where the kid goes home and like, they're like just bullet in his chest. Man is dead.
Child murder.
Child murders dude. And like, there's a lot of build up to it. It's like, what is this? Got dark.
I remember it being a weird movie, and I just really wanted to watch it. It's also the Atari connection, right? Because it was an Atari 5200 cartridge. Or something.
It was the secret information was in an Atari cartridge, which that actually was a great plot. Like that was all really well done.
There was like that shop owner that they all hung out with, and then he got killed or something like that.
Which Jacqueline also thought was real questionable because it was like the 9-year-old boy and like this 5-year-old girl that kept going in the back of the store, hanging out with this creepy
old guy.
Yeah, so that wasn't great either. But and they took the bus to the mall together. Like the 5-year-old and the 9-year-old took the bus to the mall where they hung out with the creepy guy. Right.
Apparently.
That's where we were at before we got to encouraging the kid to kill the guy.
There's a couple of 80s movies that I've rewatched with Nate that I've liked. I've been like, oh god, this did not withstand the test of time. Like this, like we live in a very different world now, and we thought this was okay in the 80s. Some of them are definitely on my list for when we get to those letters of the alphabet.
Well, I very much look forward to it.
Indeed.
All right, I put my predictions for you guys in a Facebook message, which I wholly disagree with Facebook messages because Chris knows why. I'm mad that they're different apps, but anyway, I put it in a thing for you, Chris. So don't open it until we say.
All right. Well, who wants to go first? We're gonna do the letter D. Who wants to go first?
I'll go first. So first, Paul made a guess. If you guessed Die Hard, that's not what I'm saying. That is my number one action movie of all time, but I assume there's 4 million podcasts that have already talked about Die Hard. It's the greatest action movie of all time, in my opinion. Number one with a bullet. Great movie. And if you guessed Dawn of the Dead, the remake, also not my pick, but it's like my number 2 or 3 zombie movie of all time, and I love that movie. But I'm assuming you've both seen it, and again, I'm assuming there's plenty of people who've already talked about that one to death and back again. So my actual pick, if I already subjected both of you to this as children, I'll let you bow out and we could do something else. Because I think I made everybody, like, I just used to show this to people because I freaking love this movie. And I haven't watched it in a couple
Exactly
years.
what you're talking about too.
Do you?
I think so.
Dead Alive?
Yeah.
Paul, have you seen Dead Alive?
Yes, I saw it at your house. We all slept over your house. We watched Dead Alive, and then your mom made us spaghetti after we watched that guy tear him up with his guts and stuff.
All right. Well, I don't know. I could replace it with something else, or we could just... I'm leaving it. You don't have to vote for it. We can vote for something else. I freaking love that movie. It's... Oh, God. Just every time I watch it, it brings me joy.
Nice.
The movie didn't miss a beat.
All right, you want me to go next?
Wow. Sure, you go next.
All right. My pick is going to be a little bit out of convenience. And it's going to be a little bit out of, being able to give Chris something to talk about when we talk about how we viewed the movie. So last year, when we were all, like last summer when we were all like highly cooped inside because of the pandemic and we were looking for things to do that entertained our children and didn't involve being in a big group of people. I discovered this drive-in movie theater that's about an hour away from us. It's called the Mahoning Drive-In Theater. I'll give it a plug because it's a cool place. They usually show like cult movies, like they usually, it'll be like, I think they have movies on like the Tuesday and then they do like Friday, Saturday. It'll usually be like a weekend of like weird stuff like, zombie movies or, Swamp Thing 1 and 2 or, things like that. Right. So last year I took Nate to see E.T. there. And then I took him to see an 80s double feature of Goonies and Explorers, which he was, he was out cold by the time Explorers came on. The thing is, like, all he really wants to do is set up the tent and camp out in the tent. Like, he could care less about the movie. Like, we get there, we set up the tent, and then I'm like, cool, the movie's going to start soon. And then he's like, can we watch it in the tent? And I'm like, well, like, let's watch the movie and then we can get in the tent to go to sleep. And he's like, yeah, but we could watch it in the tent. And I'm like, all right, dude. So, like, literally, we're going to go there to watch movies and he's going to be out cold. And then I'll probably finish the night watching them if he'll let me. But in 2 weeks, we're going to go see a double feature. The first one is Adventures in Babysitting. And then the second one is Don't Tell Mom the Babysitter's Dead.
The Babysitter's Dead. What a double feature. They nailed it.
So my pick's going to be Don't Tell Mom the Babysitter's Dead.
Wow.
I think it probably all comes down to whether you had a bigger 80s child crush on Elizabeth Shue or Christina Applegate. And I think for me it was Christina Applegate. So
Oh, for me it was Elizabeth
Oh,
Shue. But
well.
all right.
I'm looking forward to.
And in a weird twist, we just watched Adventures in Babysitting, like, oh god, maybe 3 or 4 weeks ago. I'd signed up for some limited service for free. Was it Paramount Plus maybe? And like it was like 3 weeks free, and I was like, "Have you not seen any of these movies?" And like I think they had that on there. Me and Jacqueline sat and watched it because she'd never seen it. D'Onofrio plays Thor, and it's didn't see
Oh,
that
wow.
coming.
Yeah, I've never actually seen Adventures in Babysitting either.
Oh.
I have seen Don't Tell Mom the Babysitter's Dead. I haven't seen it in ages, which is why that was going to be my pick. So I guess I'm glad I came up with a couple of options because that was my number one pick. All right, I have 2 backups, and now I got to choose which one.
Oh my god! I put 2.
All right.
I put 2 options for you in the message. Now you have to tell us both.
Okay. All right. I'm going to go with a movie that I haven't seen in a long, long time, and I remember thinking was pretty funny when I saw it. It was directed by Michael Patrick Jan from the state. It's called Drop Dead Gorgeous. It is a black comedy about a bunch of supermodels or something.
That is a great pick.
Haven't seen it in forever.
I actually almost picked that one. That was in the back of my mind to maybe pick that one. Wow.
Nice.
That's crazy.
My other backup was Double Dragon. I've never seen the
Oh.
Double Dragon movie, and I feel like because I am who I am, I should see it at some point, but I've just never had the nerve.
The
'cause
one that's
it
got like Alyssa Milano?
Alyssa Milano and the what's it, the original Chairman Kaga from the Chairman Kaga from the Iron Chef America, and Scott Wolf from Party of Five as the Double Dragons. Like,
I have seen it. It's been a while. That and that Mario movie. They used to just
Super
put
Mario
them on TV
Brothers.
sometimes, and it was like I'd just get sucked in. I'd be like, I guess I'm watching this now.
Super Mario Brothers is not a good movie, but it's fascinating enough to watch. Double Dragon has always looked to me like just a complete disaster.
It is. It is a complete disaster.
How am I the only one of the 3 of us who's never seen that movie?
Wild that you haven't seen it, man.
I actually
But yeah, so yeah, Drop Dead Gorgeous is my my.
I actually went and saw a live recording of another podcast that ripped apart the Double Dragon movie. So maybe it's good that we're not doing that one, although I think that you should watch it. Yeah, it's a total disaster. I will say that the crown jewel joke of the movie that they keep rehashing it, and it's not funny any of the times they do it, is the 2 brothers are the Lee brothers, right? Like that's their last name, Lee.
Yeah, Billy and
Yeah,
Jeannie Lee.
well, the big joke is the Lee brothers, Ugg and Home. Which one are you? I'm ugly. I'm homely. So that's the.
Wow.
They revisit that joke at least 3 times, and it's not funny either of the 3.
That's some quality comedy right there. Goodness gracious. All right. Well, I guess it's time to put things to a vote. Well, I'm gonna, since we can't vote for our own, I'm definitely gonna vote for Paul's Don't Tell Mom the Babysitter's Dead.
I don't want to force you into a corner, Sean. Who should go next? Because I think last time I did the next pick.
I think I'm actually going to vote for Chris's because I've never seen it. I've seen Don't Tell Mom the Babysitter's Dead. I could stand to rewatch it, but I've never seen Drop Dead Gorgeous.
Okay, then I have to vote for Drop Dead Gorgeous since I was gonna. That was one of my thoughts anyway, and it's a great movie, and I would love to watch it again.
What were your guesses?
All right, let's see what his guesses were. What did Paul think we were going to watch?
Go ahead.
All right, Chris, maybe Die Hard, maybe Dutch. Oh,
Dutch.
What a good call. And you nailed it with Sean, Dead Alive.
Can't believe you guessed
I was so sure. I was so sure that I knew both of your picks.
Unbelievable. I didn't. I made that decision tonight. Like I was like, what D movie should I pick?
Paul knew before you did. Dutch is a
I
great
know
pick.
you better than you know yourself.
Both of those are phenomenal picks, but they're so tied to specific holidays for you, right? Isn't Dutch about getting home at Christmas time, right?
Thanksgiving? I don't know. It's been a while. Maybe it's Christmas.
Planes, yeah. Because we
Do you
watch
know
Die
Planes,
Hard
Trains,
every year.
Automobiles
Die
is
Hard's
Thanksgiving.
Die Hard is like Karen's favorite quote unquote Christmas movie. So that's just something I watch literally at least once a year. And Dutch, we watched Dutch last year for the first time in a while, or the year before. We always watch Planes, Trains, and Automobiles at Thanksgiving. But good picks.
God, Planes, Trains, and Automobiles. That's one of the funniest movies of all time. It's
Oh
up
my
there.
God, it's so good.
Chris, yeah, I thought you were gonna go with Dutch because, I think when we were in high school and like somebody had an issue and they wanted to talk and you were like, let's put something on in the background. You would put on Dutch. You were like, I'm just gonna put this on the background. So that was why I thought that would be your movie. And then Sean, I knew that it was going to be Dead Alive. Like you subjected all of us to that so many times. I knew it was going to be Dead Alive.
Dutch is indeed a Thanksgiving movie. Trying to get home for Thanksgiving.
Thanksgiving. All right.
Like Planes, Trains, and Automobiles.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay, so I guess then our homework for next time is Drop Dead Gorgeous. I remember thinking this movie was pretty great back in the day. And Michael Patrick Jan from The State. So huzzah. All right. That's it. We did another podcast. The Theater Near You is a part of the Geekade Podcast Network, and if you'd like to get in touch with us to share your comments, movie suggestions, or whatever, you can send us an email at mail@geekade.com. We can also be found on most social media outlets and the official Geekade Discord server, which we started a Theater Near You channel in, which we've all been talking about movies in there, which has been pretty fun. And any other stuff you can all find in our show notes. Thanks for listening, everybody, and we'll see you next time in A Theater Near You.